Hello everybody, welcome to the Daily Sip. My name is Oliver. My mission is to bring you closer to organic Japanese green tea, and today we're gonna dive into two different matchas, and we're gonna take a look at the Saemidori matcha from Mr. Sakamoto. So this is the first one I want to try, and then I guess this is the most polarizing matcha we do have. This is the Marufuku matcha. Shizuoka is the birthplace of this matcha. So slightly south of Tokyo, and here we're in the very south, on the island of Kyushu, close to Kagoshima, clearly, or in Shibushi. That's the exact place where this matcha is coming from Mr. Sakamoto. He's normally a gyokuro farmer, but he also does on a small batch some matchas. So I will dive into these two and explain you a little bit what the taste differences are, and especially see or kind of try to bring you these two closer in case of you would like to try them. So this is what we're gonna hop into, a super simple tasting of these two matchas, and just to find out what the taste is, and I'll try to explain you where the taste is coming from. So first off, what do we talk about? Here actually what we have is a blend of a Saemidori and a Okumidori. And on the other hand, we have a pure single cultivar Saemidori matcha. So actually, right from the taste profile, they should have some similarities, but let's dive into it and see if this is really the case. First thing I will do is that I will have a look at the color of these two matchas, and for this I'm taking first the Saemidori matcha from Mr. Sakamoto. So we see very nice, beautiful green color, intense, long shading. He shades his tea up to 21 days, and this is the product which we can see. And here we go for the Marufuku matcha. And we already see the first big difference between these two. So we really see it's quite different. And now this has to do with two things. So one thing is that the Marufuku matcha is a little bit less shaded, and you see it actually in the color. And what we also have to think of is that are these teas actually made of? So we see that, let me put this a little bit more in focus. So we see clearly here we talk about the top leaves. Meanwhile, here we have to think that also some stems haven't been properly removed, making the matcha a little bit darker, and seems to me to be a little bit lower in quality. Just that we use the same amount, I will add here a little bit more. What is also interesting around from the texture, and this is something we can see between these two, is that actually the Marufuku seems to be drier. So here we have a little bit less these small balls or these crumbs that actually the matcha of Mr. Sakamoto is showing. So definitely we can see here a little bit less humidity, making it a little bit drier and easier and finer powder. I think this will be also easier to sift. Meanwhile, this here shows a little bit of humidity, also absorbing a little bit more of humidity. So there might be a difference also in terms of maybe essential oils. Here a little bit less essential oils, which then give these very fine taste notes. Meanwhile, here we are really talking about the matcha, which has not only this vibrant green, but also a little bit more this humidity, or a little bit more of this sticky way of being, which is actually a positive thing when you think about matcha. Good. These are the two matchas I want to try today. So we're gonna hop into the very traditional preparation. So we're gonna sift it first. Put it here again. Voila. And we're gonna sift this through, and this Marufuku matcha should go through really easy. You can even see that it goes through quite quickly like this. and also the sifting doesn't really take time. It's done in less than 5 seconds and we are already there. When we have a look, what we can see, there are small pieces of wood actually. These are these bright shiny particles in the leaf. So already suggesting that there might be some stems in this matcha. Let's go to the second one, to the Saemidori of Mr. Sakamoto. And here we see it takes longer. I have to sift it better. It doesn't go through so easily. So here, in my opinion, they're just more essential oils still preserved. In this matcha, in general, this matcha seems a little bit of a higher quality. Good. Then what we're gonna add is the water, same amount of water. And we're gonna whisk it, as always. I soaked the whisk, very important. And then we're gonna whisk it. But what's nice about it, so what we can see is it seems to be an amino acid rich tea. So we see there's building quite a nice foam to it. So this is already pretty good. So this is something we can take with us as a positive point. Gonna wash my matcha shortly in the water. And I'm gonna prepare the second one. Same here. And also here we see beautiful foam that is created with the whisking, so that's quite decent. For both matchas then we can see that there's actually quite a nice foam that has been created. This is number 1 Marufuku and this is number 2. But we can already see in comparison this one is lighter, a little bit more brownish, while this one has this vibrant green color. Good. Then we're gonna fill this into the glass. We see both of them quite similar in terms of foam, but color is super different. So you can clearly see the Marufuku is darker. It's a darker color, while this one here has a very beautiful, vibrant green color. So let's go and let's try these. First, here I got much more from the Marufuku. I got much more of an earthy tone. So it's a little bit really showing that there might be quite some stems in this matcha. So not very fine and well prepared. Me one here, much more green, vibrant edamame. A little bit of a spinachy. There's a note which I don't know if it's a flowery note. It's more kind of a very, very decent sweet corn note I'm getting with this matcha too. So here I'm expecting much more of complexity with this matcha, much more different taste profile. Here I'm expecting a little bit more earthy tones. So let's see. Let's go first with the Marufuku. These earthy tones, they are very, very typical for this matcha. It's not very vibrant. It's a little bit sandy even in the taste profile. So quite dry as well. It dries a little bit my throat. So quite a it loses, or it just misses a lot out of this a little bit more beautiful green. It has a little bit this malty profile, which is actually just a different taste profile. It doesn't go off too much in this culinary grade, because culinary grade, they also show this a little bit. But this nice sweet undertone which you're getting from the mix of the Saemidori with the Okumidori, but it's very much in the earthy space, so a little bit earthy, sandy space with a nice, decent, sweet undertone. So this is what I'm getting a lot from this Marufuku matcha. So a very special matcha. It's not this typical matcha flavor that you're expecting with this vibrant green, spinachy flavor profile or even a strong umami. There's quite an earthy tone to it, then with a kind of lingering sweet undertone, but it stays a lot in this earthy kind of corner. There's also a small astringency to it, but the astringency is very low, so it's not overpowering. So it's present, but it's not very strong. So this is a little bit earthy, sweet undertone with a slight astringency to it. This is how I would describe this matcha. Then let's go to the Saemidori from Mr. Sakamoto. Have a sip of water. And let's go and try this one. Big difference. So as a first note, what I'm getting, it's very sweet, a little bit greener note, so it pushes itself a little bit in the fresh edamame section, but then I get quite a decent flavor profile of banana peel, so it's quite sweetish. Also, second note, very much of a nutty note. I got a lot of cashew nuts, pure cashew, not normally you get a little bit of almondy flavor profile as well. I get a lot of cashew, so it's kind of banana cashew nut mixed with this greenness of edamame. So you see here much more complexity already in the upper notes. Try to get a little bit the deeper notes. Yeah, it stays a little bit, maybe a little bit kind of a small note of sweet potato. That's I'm getting a little bit. Yeah, it's really sticking around this a little bit more density, a little bit nearly creamy, nearly milky notes. Very nice density of the liquid, which is then bringing in is more banana peel, a little bit more of sweet potato and edamame mixed together. And what I'm getting as well is there's a certain astringency attached to it. So there's a little bit of astringency with it. It is known that organic matcha has a little bit of this natural kind of slight astringency with it in general. Because you can't push the umami that much with the organic cultivation as with the non-organic, because you can cover the plants that long, because there is actually fungi producing, and with the pesticides you can wear them more off, and after a certain threshold the organic plant has to be harvested and cannot be shaded longer, but it is a very decent undertone. So there's quite a good umami note, but there's a certain astringency attached to it. So this you have to be aware of. Here with this matcha, there are matchas which are a little bit finer in terms of astringency. Here the astringency is present. It is a subtle note. It's not overpowering, but it's definitely present as well. When I compare again to the Marufuku, so Marufuku is much more, it nearly has a little bit of an asparagus note, so it's a little bit earthy, it's a little bit more sandy, and it has a slight note of asparagus. Might be influenced now that I'm mixing these two matchas. So here we have much more of a kind of darker taste profiles, and I find the astringency is a little bit lower in the Marufuku, but it is definitely earthy. Here we have a lot of complexity with the banana peel, with the sweet potato, with the edamame in, and there's even this nutty notes coming out of it, coming in from the direction of cashew nuts, but the astringency in the end is a little bit stronger. So this is the big difference between these two. As I said before, the Marufuku matcha is definitely the most polarizing which we have in our assortment. There are people they really like and other people they really despise it. Meanwhile, I would say the Saemidori matcha from Mr. Sakamoto here in this case is a little bit more democratic. It shows quite a decent amount of very beautiful sweet notes, but it is a little bit fresher, a little bit more citrusy, a little bit more astringent than, for example, the Marufuku. Okay, so this was the tasting of these two matchas. So if you have a question, please feel free to leave a comment below, and we will be happy to answer all your questions. I would say I wish you a great day and see you, and bye bye.